Today we're going to get straight into it. What we want to talk about today is the five things everyone needs to do if you want to become a millionaire, multimillionaire, or become very rich and independent. Okay, I'm going to name the five things and I'm going to go into each one. Because you only have but so much time, we don't want to have too long of a video. I may end up having to make some videos later on to cover each one, but I try to cover as much as I possibly can. The first one being you got to work. You got to work as much as you possibly can. The second one being you might have to get some form of training while you're working to increase your income later on down the line. Third, you have to save. Save as much money as you possibly can. Fourth, you have to live below your means. And fifth, you have to try to earn some passive income with the money that you're saving. And what we'll try to do in this video, talking about these five things, we'll try to get some examples that I'm aware of and some examples that I've known that other people did to increase their income and to become millionaires. First, we have to when I say work. If you already have, a really, really good job, you may not have to work as much. But let's say, and I believe this could be someone that works at McDonald's. I mean, you may have to start off at McDonald's. While you're working at McDonald's, you may have to find, while you're looking for another job at McDonald's, maybe have your work. I live in the state of New York. New York pays $15 an hour. You can do the math. You work 10 hours, that's $150. How many hours you can work in a day, how many hours you're going to work in a week is how much money you can save. You might have to work two jobs, if that's what it requires. But what we don't want to do is don't want to go out and do nothing illegal to try to get you some type of fast income. We don't want that. We want to have legalized income that we're going to be able to make money later on in life. It all depends on how much you have to work. But the key is to work. There's 24 hours in a day. It may require you to work 2 jobs, and you may have to only be able to sleep 8 hours. But working is the key to try to bring on as much income as you can. The second one is job training. Let's say if you are one of the people that has to start off lower on the totem pole, which is okay. You can still become a multimillionaire starting off towards the bottom. You may have to get some type of college, some type of education, while you're working 2 jobs. Like I said, you just may have to work harder. While I was in the military, I was an enlisted soldier. I didn't make a whole lot of money. I had a wife and kids, for several months I delivered pizzas, and not to spend the money to take care of my family, but because I know I wanted to have money saved up so that I can allocate that capital to make more money. I worked 2 months. I saved $5,000 delivering pizzas, and at $7.25 an hour at the time in Cleveland, Ohio. So I know it can be done. I'm proof that it can be done. So that's one of the things that you can do. But you may want to get some type of job training, whether it's go to school. Whether I know at my stores I pay people that come and fix the refrigeration people. The store charges me $120 an hour. I'm sure they're probably paying that person $30, $40 an hour. That's something that you can do to increase that increase your income. So you can still, what's flexible about the day, you can go and be a refrigeration mechanic during the day. You can do some Ubers or something during the night to increase your income. And all you're trying to do is get as much money as you possibly can, especially while you're young, so you can build up later and talk about how we can earn some of this passive income off of the capital that you saved up. Third, you have to live below, you have to save. One of the things you can't do, the reason that you save is that you want to save to be able to allocate that capital to have passive income. It takes money to make money. And then, I learned as a young man, the more money you save, the more money you can make. If you got $1,000, you allocate that $1,000 into a 10% investment, you're going to get back $1,100. But if you got $10,000 and you allocate that $10,000 in a 10% income, you're going to get $11,000. You got $100,000, you allocate that capital into a return of 10%, you're going to have $110,000. So the more money you save, the more money you allocate to some type of investment, the more money you can get in return. And of course, the more money you have, the more opportunity you can have for investments. Fourth, and probably and most important, is living below your means. So if you got a really, really good job making $150,000, $200,000 a year, or you got a job making $25,000 a year, you should live below your means. You don't need to drive around in a brand new car. If you're trying to become a millionaire, you don't need to drive around in a brand new car. I want to say, I probably had $100,000. I was riding around in a 20-year-old Corsica that had a dented up hood. I rode around in that for 2 or 3 years. My car got me from point A to point B. I was riding inside. I didn't really care, what it looked like. At that time, I was in money saving mode. I wanted to get more money so that I can make more money. So it was, I had my wife. She rode around in a new car. She drove the kids to daycare and stuff like that. So they was riding around in something safe. But me and my wife, we always lived below our means. Even today, with the money that we do have, we still live below our means. We could probably live in a lot bigger house, drive fancier cars. But to me, we have a nice house. We have nice cars. We're happy. We're still saving money. We're probably at the age that we don't need to save money, but we're used to our living. We're not frugal. I used to be really, really frugal. Now we're not that frugal anymore. We get what we want, spend what we want, but it was a promise that I made to my wife. If we do these sacrifices early on, we'll be able to have a better life. So you got to live below your means. Don't try to dress to impress with other people. Don't try to drive fancy cars. Don't try to live in a house or an apartment that you really can't afford. Try to live below your means. Live in something that's safe, that's in a safe environment, something that's comfortable. But a lot of these things you'll notice, especially the first 4, they all tie in together. Work as much as you can. If you're working as much as you can, you're really not at home that much. You're not going to be driving around trying to impress people. You're not going to be going to bars and clubs that you need to dress so nice to try to impress people. So as you see, those are saving, living below your means, working a lot, and getting retraining so that you can make more money. All those 4 tie in together. And if you notice in those 4, if we talk about the wealth of nations, those all have to do with your labor. And as we know from past videos, your labor is the least profitable labor, and it's the least desirable because it's you going out and you're doing it. So if you do those first 4 things, it's going to lead to the 5th, which is passive income. And there's multiple ways to get passive income. We just cover 2. I cover 1, which is not my area of expertise, but I'm very familiar with someone that done it this way in the housing market. My expertise is investing, and I'm going to always put out videos on investing, how you can allocate that capital in investing. But one way I want to talk about, which is actually ties in to the other 4. I had a friend that I knew, about 20 years ago, 30 years ago. He started. He actually was a boxer. Well, he made it to the NFL. Played like 1 year, blew all his money, like a lot of them do. He got into boxing. It didn't work. So what he decided to do was he started collecting aluminum. He didn't have a job, so he started collecting aluminum. He saved up enough money from collecting aluminum that he bought his first house. He bought a house that needed a fixer-upper house. And what he did is he went into the house. He fixed up the bedroom. That's the first thing he fixed up, and he lived in that bedroom. Then he fixed up the bathroom, and then he fixed up the kitchen. Now he made the house livable for him as he fixed up the rest of the house. And so he kept collecting aluminum, and he was living in this house that he paid for, that he got next to nothing. He spent his little extra money fixing up the house and also saving up more money. So once he got completed and he fixed up that house, he actually rented that house out, and he bought another house, another fixer-upper house for really, really cheap. So he moved into that fixer-upper house, and he rented out the other house. And after a while, a couple years of talking to him, he had 20 houses, still living in a fixer-up house, and he was living off the rent that he was collecting, and he was able to buy more and more houses, and he was able to fix them up. So he became very wealthy by living in houses, fixing them. So what he did, he worked. He didn't really have a job, but he collected aluminum. And then he was also was able to collect rent off of his housing. He saved. He saved money, but to fix up the houses and to buy new houses. He lived below his means. He was living in a house that he was fixing up, and it was living way below his means. And he was fixing up these houses and was renting them out later on. Well, that was the fourth one, and he didn't do a second one, and he didn't really get no retraining, but he had pretty good skills in the housing area. So that's something that he did. He continuously owned his houses today. I don't know exactly how many he owns. I know he's a multimillionaire from the real estate business. So that's just an example. My example is I invest in stocks. I would going back to the four first areas that you need to do to become a multimillionaire. I'd use mine to invest in stocks. As I said from earlier videos, I really hit it really big in 2008, 2009. From the financial crisis, I invested in banks, and then my portfolio took off from there. But it starts with the first 5 things. You have to work. And you have to work as much as you can. Even if you got a good job, you might have to work a second job. You want to live below your means, meaning that if you make $100,000, you may want to live with somebody that makes $50,000. That way you're banking $50,000 every year. So that goes along with saving. And then if you need some retraining to make more extra money, later on down the line, that may be something you need to do. But if you do those 5 things, you will become a multimillionaire.